Hello beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm outside in the yard. It's part of the garden, you can see. And I just wanted to go through a quick video of what is organic gardening and some tips that you can implement in your garden. And before we jump in, do you guys love the hair? I'm loving it. I used to be this color red years ago, and then I had kids, so I stopped with the coloring for a while, but now I'm back and I'm kind of obsessed with it. We were slowly building up to this bright red because my last few videos it was like a darker red, but now it's like bam, she's in your face, you know what I mean? Anyway, without further ado, let's jump right in. What is organic gardening? All it is just gardening without any synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. And the first step in order to have organic gardening is to focus on your soil. Synthetic fertilizers treat the plant, not the soil. So you really want to make sure that you're feeding your soil in organic gardening. And some ways you can do that are compost, vermicomposting, cover crops. You can do cover crops for a season, or soil tests. You can usually get them online or maybe at your local hardware store depending on where you're at. You can purchase a soil test, and what it's going to do is it's going to test your soil for whatever deficiencies it has, and then you are able to rectify that. Use your different organic fertilizers in order to treat that. So you can use bone meal, you can use worm compost, anything like that you can use in order to treat the different deficiencies that you might have in your soil. So step number 2 for organic gardening would be to avoid diseases rather than just treating them. Some ways to prevent diseases instead of just treating them would be to choose disease-resistant varieties for your region. Rotate your crops every season, so try not to grow the same crop in the same area every year. And then if you do have any diseased plants, make sure you are tossing them instead of composting them, because you don't want to spread any disease into your compost bin. Step number 3 would be to prevent and pull weeds instead of spraying. So pull weeds before they go to seed. Once they go to seed, they spread like crazy and it's a lot harder to stay on top of it. Raised garden beds tend to have less weeds than in-ground beds. I have containers and I have in-ground. There's maybe 2 weeds combined in all my containers, while my in-ground soil is just, it can get out of control if you're not keeping up with it. And then you can also grow cover crops for a season. So a cover crop is basically just anything that's gonna grow on the ground and spread out, because it'll end up suffocating any weeds that come up, and then they won't come back the next season. Step number 4 would be to grow healthy plants that can withstand a little bit of damage. And you would do that by giving your crops adequate nutrition. So whatever your plant needs, make sure that you're providing that for them. For instance, tomatoes tend to get blossom end rot if they're not, 1, watered properly, and 2, have a calcium deficiency. So just make sure you are providing the adequate nutrition for your plants, and to make sure you're watering deeply versus frequently. Now this is something I've noticed has really changed, especially my tomatoes. I was notorious for getting blossom end rot from my tomatoes, but this year I've been more so watering deeply versus frequently. And basically all I do is, if you have an irrigation system or a hose, I just turn my hose on low and then just leave it in the just leave it mixed into the tomatoes, and then really allow that water to soak deeply to the root system. Has really changed the health of my tomatoes this season. Tip number 5 would be to manage pests mindfully, and the first step to doing that is to know which bugs are beneficial and which ones are harmful. I will link a video up here, I'm not sure which side it is, one of these sides, of the video that I put out last, and it's about beneficial bugs in your garden and how to attract them. And then you can also use barrier methods or sticky traps. A lot of, you know, those bright yellow stickers, a lot of bugs are attracted to the color yellow, so then you can also use the sticky traps in your garden as well. So step number 6 would be to plant the right crop at the right place at the right time. So for instance, tomatoes, you don't want to plant them too early, especially in my zone 6A, because they are frost sensitive, and if they get any kind of frost, they will die. You can't put cucumbers in an area that doesn't get a lot of light, because they do need full sun. Just keeping those kind of things in mind, and just making sure that you're planting varieties that are hardy in your specific area. Like, I will never be able to grow pineapples no matter how hard I try. It's just not what this zone is. So just keep in mind to make sure that you're planting crops that you know are going to do well in your area. And make sure you check out local nurseries because they tend to have a lot more varieties that are specific to your region than, for instance, hardware stores will. Step number 7 would be to practice companion planting and polyculture practices in your garden. Polyculture gardening is just a way of growing a mix of different plants in a single garden spot. It gives you more harvest and less headaches, and it actually mimics the way that plants grow in nature. As you know, plants don't grow in perfect single rows one after another in nature. So polyculture is just kind of just letting your garden more have a naturey feel versus like a farming feel where it's just very uniform. And a way of helping with that is to add perennial herbs and flowers in your garden and making sure that you attract beneficial bugs and pollinators to your garden as well. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping I can get a few more garden videos in before the end of the season, but we'll see how it goes. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.